The massive view screen in Times Square flickered to life, replacing advertisements with an alien broadcast. Similar screens activated across Earth, in every major city, on every device capable of receiving transmissions. The Galactic Overlords had arrived. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the underground bunker beneath Denver, watching the same feed on military monitors. Her weathered face remained stoic as the alien figure appeared. The Overlord looked vaguely humanoid but stood 12 feet tall, with crystalline skin that shifted colors like oil on water. 4 arms ended in delicate fingers, and its head bore 3 eyes arranged in a triangle. People of Earth, the Overlord spoke. Its voice somehow translated perfectly into every human language simultaneously. I am Executor Prime Vex Athi of the Galactic Dominion. Your species has been evaluated and found adequate for servitude. Sarah's jaw tightened. Around her, military personnel scrambled at their stations, gathering data, analyzing the transmission source. They'd known this day might come. Humanity had been preparing for 30 years. Ever since the first deep space probes detected signs of a vast interstellar empire. The alien continued, its central eye pulsing with each word. Resistance is not advised. We have conquered 10,000 worlds. Your technology is primitive, your weapons laughable. To demonstrate the futility of opposition, we will now show you the death of your greatest warrior. The screen shifted to show a figure in black tactical gear positioned on a rooftop. Sarah's blood ran cold. She recognized the location, downtown Tokyo, atop the Yamamoto Tower. More importantly, she recognized the sniper rifle and the barely visible unit patch. Ghost Unit 7, Marcus Rodriguez. No, she whispered. Marcus was the best they had, trained since childhood in the secret military program designed specifically for this threat. He could hit a target from 3 miles away in hurricane conditions. He'd survived missions that should have killed him 20 times over. The camera, impossibly steady despite being filmed from what must have been an alien craft, zoomed in on Marcus. He was perfectly still, eye pressed to his scope, unaware he was being watched by billions. His rifle was aimed at something off-screen. This human believes he can harm us. Vex Athi's voice dripped with amusement. He waits to shoot at our diplomatic vessel when it lands. How quaint! A thin beam of light, no thicker than a pencil, shot from somewhere above the camera's view. It struck Marcus in the chest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, Marcus toppled sideways, his rifle clattering across the rooftop. The camera lingered on his still form, smoke rising from the perfect hole burned through his armor and body. Gasps echoed through the command center. On the streets above, Sarah knew civilians were watching in horror. Marcus Rodriguez, though unknown to the public, had just become the first casualty of humanity's war with the Galactic Dominion. As easily as we took this one life, Vex Athi reappeared on screen. We can take all lives. You have 1 Earth rotation to prepare for integration into the Dominion. Resistance will be met with annihilation. Compliance will be rewarded with survival. The transmission ended. Screens worldwide returned to normal programming. Though Sarah doubted anything would ever be normal again, she turned to her staff, all frozen in shock. Status report, she barked, snapping them back to reality. Sir, Lieutenant James Wong's fingers flew across his keyboard. We've confirmed the location. Tokyo Tower 7 was Ghost 7's position. Local forces are moving to recover the TUI cover, Rodriguez. Sarah nodded grimly. And the source of the transmission? Orbital, ma'am. Approximately 50,000 kilometers up. It's big. Really big. Our satellites are getting readings now, but... Wong's voice cracked. Initial estimates put it at over 5 kilometers long. 5 kilometers. Humanity's largest spacecraft, the experimental battlecruiser Defiance hidden in lunar orbit, was barely 500 meters. Sarah forced herself to think clearly. They'd wargamed this scenario hundreds of times. Alien contact, technological superiority, demands for surrender. But the games hadn't prepared them for the casual ease with which the enemy had killed one of Earth's finest soldiers. Ma'am, another technician called out. We're receiving encrypted burst transmissions from all ghost unit positions. They're all confirming Rodriguez is down, but they're also sending something else. Put it through. The main screen filled with data streams, tactical information, and one repeated phrase from every ghost unit member: Phoenix Protocol active. Sarah's eyes widened. Phoenix Protocol. She'd signed off on it herself, though she'd prayed it would never be needed. Marcus Rodriguez hadn't just been a sniper. He'd been patient zero for humanity's most desperate contingency plan. How long since Rodriguez was hit? She asked urgently. Wong checked his chronometer. 4 minutes? 17 seconds. And Tokyo ground forces? Still 10 minutes out from the tower. Too slow. Sarah grabbed the encrypted communications handset. All ghost units. This is Mountain Home Actual. Confirm Phoenix status. One by one, confirmations came in from around the globe. Ghost 1 through 12, -7, all reported the same thing. Biomonitors green, nanite swarms active, consciousness uploads stable. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The Overlords had made a crucial mistake. They'd assumed human physiology was uniform, that killing one human would demonstrate their power over all. They couldn't have known that Marcus Rodriguez, like all Ghost Unit operatives, had volunteered for extensive biological modification. The program had been humanity's most closely guarded secret. 12 volunteers, enhanced with experimental nanotechnology. Their consciousness backed up in quantum storage. Their bodies capable of surviving injuries that would kill normal humans. Even a direct energy weapon strike. Ma'am! Wong's voice was excited now. Tokyo ground forces are reporting. They're reporting movement on the tower. Sarah leaned forward. On a tactical display, heat signatures showed Tokyo's rapid response team approaching the building. But there was another signature, faint but growing stronger, right where Marcus had fallen. The Overlords had killed a Ghost Unit operative on live broadcast. In exactly 43 more minutes, they were going to learn why that was the worst mistake they could have made. Alert all stations, Sarah commanded. Phase 1 of Prometheus Initiative is active. All Ghost units are to proceed to secondary positions. Activate all hidden defense platforms. And somebody get me a direct line to the president. As her staff scrambled to comply, Sarah stared at the countdown timer someone had started on the main screen. 42 minutes and counting. The Overlords thought they'd demonstrated humanity's weakness. Instead, they'd activated humanity's trap. She thought of Marcus Rodriguez, even now regenerating on that Tokyo rooftop, his enhanced body rebuilding itself cell by cell while his quantum backup consciousness prepared to resume control. The process was painful beyond description. She'd watched the test videos. But Marcus was a ghost. Pain was just another form of data. Around the world, similar preparations were underway. Hidden bunkers activated. Sleeper satellites powered up. Weapons that officially didn't exist were brought online. Humanity had spent 3 decades preparing for this moment, pouring resources into black projects while maintaining a facade of primitive technology. 37 minutes until full Phoenix resurrection, Wong reported. Sarah nodded. The Overlords had given humanity 1 Earth rotation to surrender. They wouldn't get half that time, because in 37 minutes, Marcus Rodriguez would stand up on that Tokyo rooftop. The billions who'd watched him die would see him rise. And then the real war would begin. The command center hummed with activity as humanity's secret defenders prepared to reveal themselves. Ghost units moving into position. Orbital defense platforms warming up. Quantum entanglement communicators establishing unhackable networks. Technologies that seemed like magic even to the scientists who'd created them. Ma'am, a new voice interrupted her thoughts. Captain Lisa Park from Intelligence. We've decrypted part of the Overlord transmission. There's background data, technical readings. Their ship, it's powerful, but it's not invulnerable. The energy readings suggest they're using a type of focused particle beam we've theorized but never built. Weaknesses. Still analyzing, but their shields seem to cycle. There's a pattern. Every 90 seconds, there's a fraction of a second where coverage drops to redirect power. It's how they maintain such strong offensive capabilities. 90 seconds. A fraction of a second. For normal humans, an impossible window. For a ghost unit operative with enhanced reflexes and predictive neural implants, it might as well be an eternity. Sarah made her decision. Transmit this data to all ghost units immediately. Priority encryption. She watched the timer. 34 minutes. Around the world, 11 enhanced soldiers were receiving the same information, their augmented minds already calculating angles, velocities, optimal strike patterns. They'd trained for this, lived for this, and one of them had already died for this. But death, as the Overlords would soon learn, was just another obstacle for humanity to overcome. The war for Earth's freedom would begin in 34 minutes, and it would start with a dead man's resurrection. Marcus Rodriguez felt himself drowning in darkness. Death was supposed to be final, but for Ghost Unit operatives, it was more like a forced vacation in the void. His consciousness floated in quantum storage, aware but disembodied, waiting for his enhanced body to rebuild itself. The pain would come soon. It always did. Through the quantum link, he could sense his body on the Tokyo rooftop. Millions of nanobots swarmed through his tissues, repairing cellular damage, rebuilding organs, rerouting neural pathways around the hole the alien weapon had burned through his chest. The process was miraculous. It was also agony incarnate. Somewhere in Denver, Commander Sarah Chen watched satellite feeds of Tokyo while coordinating humanity's response. She'd been Marcus's commanding officer for 5 years. Ever since the Ghost Unit program went operational, she knew what came next. 25 minutes had passed since the broadcast. Across Earth, panic and despair had given way to desperate preparation. Some cities evacuated. Others mobilized ancient military reserves. Most people simply waited, glued to screens, praying for a miracle they didn't know was already in progress. In orbit, the Dominion ship Inevitable Victory maintained its position. Executor Prime Vex Athi stood in the command chamber, basking in the fear radiating from the primitive world below. The demonstration had been perfect. One shot, one dead human, broadcast to billions. Textbook psychological warfare. Executor, his second in command, a serpentine creature called Seath, approached with fluid grace. The humans are mobilizing their primitive forces. Shall we discourage them? No, Vex Athi's 3 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Let them scramble like insects. When they surrender, their efforts will make submission more complete. Neither alien noticed the subtle changes beginning on Earth's surface. Hidden installations powered up using energy signatures the Dominion had never encountered. Satellite networks reconfigured themselves into patterns that seemed random but weren't. And on a Tokyo rooftop, dead flesh began to twitch. Marcus's consciousness slammed back into his body like a freight train hitting a wall. Every nerve screamed. Every cell burned with the fire of forced regeneration. His back arched off the concrete as synthetic muscle fibers knitted themselves back together. The hole in his chest had closed, leaving only smooth, unmarked skin beneath the torn tactical suit. He couldn't scream. His vocal cords were still rebuilding, but his enhanced eyes snapped open, immediately adjusting to the brightness. The heads-up display in his corneal implants flickered to life, showing 31 minutes had passed since his death. 16 minutes until full resurrection. 16 minutes until his body was combat-ready. But Marcus didn't have 16 minutes to waste. Fighting through pain that would have killed a normal human from shock alone, he rolled onto his stomach. His rifle lay 3 feet away, too far for his partially regenerated muscles. Instead, he focused on the quantum communicator embedded in his skull. Mountain home, this is Ghost 7. Phoenix rising. Sarah's voice crackled through the link, relief evident despite the encryption. 7. Confirm status. Consciousness restored. Body at 60%. I can see the target. Through blurred vision, Marcus could make out the massive alien ship hanging in the sky like a metal moon. His enhanced optics began calculating distances, angles, atmospheric interference. Data flowed across his vision, processed by neural implants that made supercomputers look sluggish. 7. Hold position. Full resurrection in 15 minutes. Negative. Mountain home. They killed me on live broadcast. In 15 minutes, they'll know something's wrong. We need to maintain surprise. Silence on the channel. Then, what do you need? Distraction. Something big enough to make them look away from Tokyo for 5 minutes. Sarah's response was immediate. London's ready. Ghost 3 has a particle cannon locked onto their ship. Won't penetrate shields, but it'll get their attention. Marcus managed to get his hands under him, pushing up to his knees. Every movement was agony, but pain was just information. He could process information. Do it. 3,000 miles away, Ghost 3 fired. A brilliant lance of energy shot skyward from a hidden emplacement beneath the Thames. As predicted, it splashed harmlessly against the Dominion ship's shields, but alarms screamed across alien bridges. Executor. Seath scales rippled with alarm. Energy weapon discharge from the third largest human settlement. No damage, but the output exceeds their stated technological level by... Irrelevant. Vex Athi cut him off. Return fire. Destroy the weapon and a 1-mile radius around it as an example. The Dominion ship's weapons powered up, preparing to turn central London into glass. They never noticed the figure on a Tokyo rooftop struggle to his feet, retrieve his rifle, and begin making precise adjustments to its scope. Marcus's body was at 75%. His hands shook slightly as residual nerve damage healed, but his mind was clear, and the targeting data streaming through his implants was perfect. The Dominion ship had made a critical error. To fire on London, they'd had to redirect power from their shields. The cycling gap Captain Park had identified was about to get 2.3 seconds longer. He had one shot, one chance to show humanity that the gods could bleed. The rifle wasn't standard military issue. Nothing about the ghost units was standard. The weapon in Marcus's hands was the culmination of 30 years of reverse-engineered alien technology, recovered from crashed probes and derelict satellites. Officially, it didn't exist. Unofficially, it was designated the God Killer. Magnetic coils hummed to life along the rifle's extended barrel. A single round, no bigger than a pen cap, loaded into the chamber, not a bullet in any conventional sense, but a contained singularity, a microscopic black hole held stable by exotic matter fields. They'd only managed to manufacture 12 rounds. Each ghost unit operative carried one. Through his scope, Marcus watched the Dominion ship's shield matrix flux and cycle. His neural implants calculated vectors, compensating for atmospheric drift, gravity, the Earth's rotation. Numbers flashed across his vision faster than human thought. In Denver, Sarah watched the countdown timer hit 40 minutes since the initial broadcast. 7 minutes until Marcus's full resurrection. But something was happening on the satellite feeds. The figure on the Tokyo rooftop was moving, raising a weapon. Ghost 7, you're not at full strength. I'm at enough. Marcus's voice was steadier now, his regenerated lungs functioning properly. Shield gap in 4, 3, 2. He fired. To observers on the ground, nothing seemed to happen. No muzzle flash, no sound. The God Killer didn't work like conventional weapons. It simply created a path of twisted space-time between the barrel and the target, allowing the singularity round to travel instantly across any distance. For exactly 1.7 seconds, a hole the size of a pinprick existed in the Dominion ship's shields. The singularity passed through and struck the hull. At first, the damage seemed minimal. A tiny puncture in the kilometers-long vessel. Then physics took over. The microscopic black hole began feeding on the ship's exotic matter power core. Alarms that had never sounded in 10,000 conquered worlds screamed through Dominion corridors. Vexathi spun toward the damage reports, his 3 eyes widening in impossible shock. Executor, hull breach in Section 7. But the readings. This isn't possible. The gravitational distortion. The view screen showed it clearly. A perfect sphere of nothingness was growing inside their ship, devouring metal and energy with equal hunger. Structural supports twisted and snapped. Entire sections compressed into impossibly small spaces before vanishing entirely. Evasive maneuvers, Vexathi screamed, but it was too late. The singularity had reached the main power distribution network. Exotic energies meant to be contained suddenly weren't. Secondary explosions cascaded through the ship as failsafes failed and redundancies proved redundant against a weapon that ate reality itself. On Earth, billions watched the invincible alien vessel begin to crumple like paper. Sections of hull collapsed inward. Lightning played across its surface as power systems overloaded. The proud Dominion ship that had conquered 10,000 worlds was dying, and everyone could see it. But the Overlords weren't finished yet. Even as his ship tore itself apart, Vex Athi managed to activate the emergency broadcast system. His image appeared on screens worldwide, but gone was the smugness, the casual arrogance. 2 of his 3 eyes had ruptured from sudden decompression. Green blood ran down his crystalline face. "Impossible," he gasped. "Your technology, we scanned. We knew." Behind him, his bridge exploded into chaos. Crew members fled or died as gravity twisted in unnatural ways. The singularity was spreading, consuming everything in its path. "You were dead." Vex Athi pointed at something off-screen, and viewers realized he could somehow see Marcus standing on the Tokyo rooftop. "We killed you. The whole world saw you die." Marcus Rodriguez shouldered his rifle and activated his own broadcast system. Every ghost unit had one, for exactly this moment. His scarred face appeared on screens next to the dying alien commander. "You did kill me," Marcus said simply. "But humans don't stay down. We get back up. We learn. We adapt. And we win." The timer in Denver hit 47 minutes. Exactly as the title had promised. Everything collapsed. The Dominion ship, pride of a galactic empire, imploded with a flash that briefly outshone the sun. When the light faded, only debris remained, falling toward Earth in brilliant meteors. But the collapse wasn't limited to one ship. Across the planet, hidden transmitters activated, sending quantum-entangled signals to every corner of human space. The message was simple, broadcast in the Dominion's own language: "Earth kills gods. Stay away." The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. On 1,000 conquered worlds, species that had submitted to the Dominion saw the impossible, their overlords defeated by a primitive world. Rebellions that had been crushed for millennia suddenly found new hope. The Galactic Dominion, built on the myth of invincibility, discovered that myths could die as easily as martyrs could rise. In Tokyo, Marcus Rodriguez collapsed to his knees as the last of the regeneration process completed. Full resurrection achieved, his body once again whole, though the memory of death would haunt him forever. Around the world, his fellow Ghost Unit operatives emerged from hiding, revealing themselves to a humanity that suddenly understood they were not alone in their fight. Sarah Chen stood in the Denver Command Center, watching the debris of the alien ship streak across the sky like falling stars. They'd won the first battle, but she knew this was just the beginning. The Dominion would send more ships, but now humanity knew they could be beaten. More importantly, the galaxy knew it too. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Wong approached with a tablet. "We're receiving transmissions from everywhere. Ships throughout the galaxy are requesting alliance with Earth. Species we've never heard of are offering technology, resources, soldiers. They're calling it the liberation of the 10,000 worlds." Sarah took the tablet, scanning the flood of alien communications. In 47 minutes, everything had indeed collapsed. But from that collapse, something new was rising. Not just humanity ascending to the stars, but a coalition of free worlds united by the example of a single sniper who refused to stay dead. The age of dominion was ending. The age of liberation had begun. And it started with humanity showing the universe a simple truth: kill us, and we'll come back stronger. 6 months after the Dominion ship fell, Earth had become the most important planet in the galaxy. The transformation was so complete that historians would later call it the 47-minute revolution, the time it took for humanity to shatter 10,000 years of oppression. Ambassador Lisa Park, formerly Captain Park of Earth Intelligence, stood in the newly constructed Galactic Embassy in Geneva. Through reinforced windows, she could see delegates from 100 different species mingling in the courtyard. Some floated, others slithered. A few existed as pure energy contained in mechanical shells. All had come to Earth, drawn by the promise of freedom. The Voskan delegation is ready for you, her assistant, a young man named David, informed her. He'd adapted remarkably well to working alongside aliens, though he still jumped whenever the crystalline delegates phased through walls instead of using doors. Lisa nodded, straightening her uniform. The Voskans were important. Their world had supplied critical resources to the Dominion for 3,000 years. Their rebellion, sparked by Earth's victory, had cut off vital supply lines throughout Dominion space. She entered the meeting room to find 3 Voskans waiting. They looked like upright bears made of liquid metal, their surfaces constantly shifting and reforming. When they spoke, it was in perfect unison, their translator devices rendering their harmonic language into English. Ambassador Park, they said, we bring news from the frontier. 7 more Dominion fleets have surrendered. Their crews request Earth's protection. Lisa kept her expression neutral, though internally she marveled. 6 months ago, humanity had been preparing for annihilation. Now, the same species that had terrorized the galaxy were begging Earth for mercy. Earth's position remains unchanged, she replied carefully. Surrender is accepted from any Dominion forces willing to stand trial for war crimes. Those found guilty of genocide or slavery will face justice. Others may earn redemption through service to the liberation. The Voskans rippled, their equivalent of a nod. The ghost unit's reputation spreads. Many Dominion commanders fear Earth's warriors more than death itself. They say you cannot be killed. Lisa thought of Marcus Rodriguez, who now led strike teams throughout liberated space. The man who died on live broadcast had become a legend. The risen sniper, they called him. The first of the undying. She'd read reports of Dominion forces surrendering at the mere rumor of ghost unit presence. We can be killed, Lisa corrected gently. We just don't let it stop us. There's a difference. After the meeting, Lisa made her way to the Strategic Command Center buried beneath the embassy. The place hummed with activity. Human and alien personnel working side by side, coordinating the largest military alliance in galactic history. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the central display, tracking fleet movements across a 3-dimensional map of local space. She looked older than she had 6 months ago. Leading a planetary defense was one thing. Leading a galactic liberation was another. Ambassador, Sarah greeted her without looking away from the display. The 9th Liberation Fleet just reported in. They've freed the Hexari home system. That makes 43 systems liberated this month alone. Lisa studied the map. Blue dots representing free worlds outnumbered the red of Dominion space for the first time. Any word from Marcus? Ghost 7 is running silent ops in the Kalos sector. Last report was 3 days ago. He eliminated a Dominion slave processing center and freed 12,000 beings. Sarah finally turned, a tired smile on her face. The Dominion put a bounty on him, 10 star systems for proof of his permanent death. They still don't understand. Lisa shook her head. They can't conceive of warriors who treat death as an inconvenience. The liberation hadn't been without cost. Earth had been attacked 4 more times by increasingly desperate Dominion fleets. Each assault had failed, but cities had burned. People had died. The difference was that humanity had learned to weaponize even death itself. The Phoenix Protocol had been expanded beyond the ghost units. Volunteer soldiers underwent the enhancement process, creating an army that grew stronger with each battle. Death became a tactical delay rather than a strategic loss. Earth's forces would fall, rise, and continue fighting with knowledge gained from each resurrection. But the real victory was psychological. The galaxy had watched the Dominion, masters of 10,000 worlds, conquerors of countless species, fail to hold a single planet. Word spread through quantum communications and smuggled broadcasts. Earth, barely spacefaring, had done the impossible. And if Earth could do it, why not others? The rebellions started within days. Worlds that had been enslaved for millennia suddenly found the courage to fight. The Dominion, stretched thin by constant expansion, couldn't respond to threats everywhere at once. Their empire, built on fear, crumbled when that fear turned to hope. "Ma'am," a technician called out. "Priority transmission from Ghost 7. Sarah gestured for it to be put on the main screen. Marcus Rodriguez appeared, his face gaunt but determined. Behind him, Lisa could see what looked like a massive prison complex. "Mountain Home, this is Ghost 7. I've located the facility." His voice carried across light years without delay, another gift from the Alliance's shared technology. The rumors were true. The Dominion has been experimenting with their own resurrection technology. They've been testing it on prisoners. Sarah's expression hardened. They'd feared this development. Earth's greatest advantage was the Phoenix Protocol. If the Dominion replicated it, details 7. Crude implementation. They can bring subjects back, but the neural damage is extensive. 90% come back wrong. Violent, uncontrolled, barely sapient. They're creating monsters, not soldiers. Marcus paused, and Lisa could see the weight of what he'd witnessed in his eyes. "I count 300 test subjects in various stages, requesting permission to conduct mercy terminations. Negative Ghost 7. Sarah's response surprised everyone, including Marcus. If they're experimenting with resurrection, even failed resurrection, those beings might be saved. Hold position. Ninth Fleet is 40 hours from your location. We're sending medical teams and our best neural reconstruction specialists." On the screen, Marcus nodded slowly. This was what separated Earth from the Dominion. Where the Overlords saw failed experiments to be discarded, humanity saw victims to be saved. It was that philosophy, as much as any weapon, that was winning the war. Understood, Mountain Home. Ghost 7 holding position. One more thing. I've recovered data cores from the facility. The Dominion knows where their capital is falling. They're planning something called the Final Doctrine. Lisa and Sarah exchanged worried glances. Intelligence had picked up references to the Final Doctrine, but hadn't been able to determine what it meant. Transmit everything you have, 7. Highest encryption. As data flowed across the quantum network, Lisa reflected on how much had changed. Earth's technology had advanced centuries in months, accelerated by knowledge freely shared by liberated species. Humanity's children now learned alongside young aliens in integrated schools. The dream of a united galaxy, impossible 6 months ago, was becoming reality, but the war wasn't over. The Dominion still controlled thousands of worlds, still commanded vast fleets. They'd lost the aura of invincibility, but a wounded predator was often the most dangerous. "Ambassador," David appeared at her elbow. "You asked to be notified when the Terran Council convened. They're gathering now." Lisa left Sarah to coordinate military operations and made her way to the council chambers. The Terran Council had been humanity's answer to the chaos of first contact, representatives from every nation, working together for the planet's interests. Old rivalries hadn't disappeared, but the threat of alien domination had a way of making earthly conflicts seem petty. She took her seat as President Martinez called the session to order. The topic, as always these days, was the Liberation War. But today there was something different in the air, a tension Lisa couldn't quite place. "Counselors," Martinez began, "we've received a communication from the Dominion High Command. Not a fleet commander or sector governor, but the Apex Council itself. They're requesting terms." The chamber erupted in discussion. After 6 months of brutal warfare, the Dominion leadership was actually considering surrender? It seemed impossible. Martinez raised a hand for silence. "Before we celebrate, you should know their terms. They'll cede half their territory to the Liberation Alliance. They'll free all slaves and end expansion. In exchange, they want Earth to share the Phoenix Protocol and agree to non-aggression pact." "Absolutely not." Counselor Williams from the African Union stood. "They want our resurrection technology, so they can perfect it and come back stronger?" Perhaps Counselor Nakamura from the Pacific Federation countered. "Or perhaps they genuinely seek coexistence. The war has cost them dearly. Their economy is in ruins, their military stretched beyond breaking. Lisa listened to the debate rage. Part of her wanted to agree with Williams. The Dominion had proven they couldn't be trusted. But another part, the diplomat in her, saw opportunity. The galaxy needed healing, not endless war. Her communicator buzzed. A message from Sarah. Marcus cracked the final doctrine files. You need to see this immediately. Lisa excused herself and returned to the command center. Sarah's face was grim as she gestured to the decoded data on the screens. The final doctrine is a doomsday protocol, Sarah explained. If the Dominion faces total defeat, they'll activate devices hidden on every world they control. Antimatter bombs capable of sterilizing entire planets. They'd rather rule ashes than see their slaves freed. Lisa felt her blood run cold. Thousands of worlds, trillions of lives, held hostage by the Dominion's spite. Can we stop it? Maybe. The activation requires authorization from all 12 Apex Council members. If even one refuses, Sarah trailed off, but finding and eliminating them would take time we don't have. Unless we accept their terms, Lisa finished. Share the Phoenix Protocol in exchange for peace. It was a devil's bargain. Give the enemy the secret of resurrection or watch them burn the galaxy out of spite. But as Lisa stood there, an idea began to form. What if they could do both? What if sharing the technology wasn't weakness, but the ultimate victory? She thought of Marcus Rodriguez, dying and rising on that Tokyo rooftop. He'd become more than human in that moment. He'd become an idea. Ideas couldn't be killed. They spread, evolved, transformed those who carried them. Sarah, Lisa said slowly, what if we don't give them our Phoenix Protocol? What if we give them something better? Sarah raised an eyebrow. Explain. The Dominion's resurrection experiments failed because they're trying to create weapons. Slaves that can't die but can still be controlled. They don't understand that our Phoenix Protocol works because our people choose it. They volunteer, knowing the pain, accepting the sacrifice. It's not the technology that makes us unstoppable. It's the will to use it for others, not ourselves. Understanding dawned in Sarah's eyes. You want to share a modified version, one that only works for willing subjects. One that requires, what? Psychological profiles indicating selflessness. Exactly. We give them resurrection, but only for those who would use it to protect, not conquer. We infect their society with heroes. It was audacious. It was risky. It was perfectly human. The council voted that night, choosing to accept the Dominion's terms with modifications. Earth would share a version of the Phoenix Protocol, but it would come with conditions: full monitoring by Alliance scientists, gradual implementation, and most importantly, psychological requirements that would ensure only those dedicated to peace could be enhanced. The Dominion Apex Council, desperate to avoid total defeat, agreed. They thought they were getting Earth's greatest weapon. They didn't realize they were getting Earth's greatest gift: the power to choose sacrifice for others. The signing ceremony took place on neutral ground, a space station orbiting a star that belonged to no one. Lisa stood with Earth's delegation as the Apex Council arrived, 12 beings of different species, all who had risen to power through brutality and cunning. They looked at the humans with barely concealed hatred, but also fear. Executor Prime Vexathi had been replaced by his successor, a being called Zarmoth. Unlike his predecessor's arrogance, Zarmoth approached with visible caution. He'd studied Earth, learned from Vexathi's mistakes. He knew these humans were dangerous. The terms are acceptable, Zarmoth said, his 6 eyes never leaving Lisa's face. You will share your resurrection technology. We will cease hostilities. With conditions, Lisa reminded him. The technology will be implemented under strict oversight. Only volunteers who pass psychological screening will be enhanced. Any attempt to weaponize it against free worlds will result in immediate termination of the agreement. Zarmoth's mandibles clicked in annoyance, but he nodded, agreed. As documents were signed and transmitted across the galaxy, Lisa caught sight of a figure in the shadows. Marcus Rodriguez, officially not there, watching from the Ghost Unit's hidden position. His presence was a reminder. Earth might be choosing peace, but they were always ready for war. The ceremony concluded, and delegations began to depart. Zarmoth paused before leaving, turning back to Lisa. "You think you've won," he said. "You think sharing your technology will change us. But the Dominion has existed for 10,000 years. We will adapt, survive, and eventually reclaim what is ours." Lisa smiled. "Maybe. Or maybe in 10,000 years, the beings who call themselves Dominion will be nothing like you. Ideas have a way of evolving, Zarmoth, and the idea that death can be conquered through sacrifice for others? That's going to spread through your empire like wildfire." She was right. Within a year, the first Dominion volunteers underwent the modified Phoenix Protocol. They were low-ranking soldiers, scientists, workers, beings who had lived under the boot of the Apex Council and dreamed of something better. When they rose from death the first time, they came back changed, not just physically enhanced, but psychologically transformed by the experience of choosing death for others. These Risen, as they came to be called, became centers of change within Dominion society. They couldn't be controlled through fear, they'd already died. They couldn't be bribed, they'd given up everything. They could only be inspired, and they inspired others in turn. The Apex Council discovered too late what Earth had given them. Not a weapon, but a revolution in slow motion. Each Risen who chose death to save others created more believers in the cause. The Phoenix Protocol spread not through mandate but through example. 5 years after the treaty, the Dominion as it had existed was gone. In its place rose the Commonwealth of Free Worlds, a democracy built on the principle that power came from the willingness to sacrifice for others. The Apex Council, unable to control their transformed population, simply faded away. Marcus Rodriguez finally retired after a decade of service, his body worn from countless deaths and resurrections. He returned to Earth, to a small farm in Montana where he could watch the sun rise over mountains that had never known alien rule. Sometimes, journalists would find him, wanting to interview the Risen sniper, the man whose death started a galactic revolution. He always told them the same thing: "I didn't start anything, I just refused to end." That's what humans do. We get knocked down, we get back up, and we keep going. The galaxy learned that lesson in 47 minutes. Some are still learning it. Lisa Park served as Earth's first galactic president, elected by beings from 10,000 worlds who saw in humanity the spark that had freed them. Under her leadership, the Commonwealth expanded not through conquest but through invitation. Worlds joined willingly, drawn by the promise of freedom and the protection of those who could not be permanently killed. Sarah Chen founded the Galactic Defense Academy, teaching the principles of the ghost units to volunteers from every member species. The Phoenix Protocol evolved, adapted to different physiologies, different minds, but the core remained the same. Resurrection was not a right but a responsibility. The galaxy had learned the lesson Earth taught in those crucial 47 minutes. Killing a human didn't end them, it just made them stronger. But more importantly, humanity had taught the galaxy that true strength came not from the ability to conquer death, but from the willingness to face it for others. The Dominion had broadcast a sniper's death, thinking it would break humanity's spirit. Instead, they had broadcast the birth of legends. And legends, as any human could tell you, never truly die. They just wait for the right moment to rise again.